Danny, we'll take a different route though for this moment, because Simon and I touched on this earlier on in the week. Club matters, of course. We are not ignoring them. It appears that Manchester United getting very close to getting a deal agreed for Jadon Sancho. That and a whole lot more is going on. Who are Everton going to get? Are Tottenham going to get this guy Fonseca? David Moyes now has agreed, we hear, a new 3-year contract with West Ham United amidst big interest again from Everton. And of course you would expect that with Everton looking for a manager. Would they go back for Moyes?
Well, but it appears because the fans didn't want it.
Well, but regardless of that, he's loved by people like Bill Kenwright. He's loved by all of them there at that level. But it's going to be a 3-year deal at West Ham. Do you think he will prove to be the most important signing of this close season for Sullivan and Gold and Brady at West Ham?
Well, I think it's a very well-deserved contract. Kind of had to go back the second time and prove his worth again, and did it brilliantly well. They had a wonderful season. So it makes sense to give him the contract. Keeps continuity. Seems to have the players on board. I mean, it's going to be imperative to West Ham they keep hold of their best players and add some to that. But I'd be surprised if Declan Rice is still there next season. I'd be very surprised to see that. So he's going to. I think he's going to have a bit of work to do in the market, because now West Ham have been successful and done well. Their players are always going to be courted when you've had such a good season, and Declan Rice being the obvious one.
Would that not be part of the deal with Moyes saying yes, Simon? All right, yeah, I'll put pen to paper, but Declan stays.
Well, he can't dictate.
No,
that.
I don't think so. I think he's got the currency to make that something he wanted to be on the table, an understanding, or an alternative understanding, which is I get every single dime of that money back to reinvest back in the squad. Yeah. That will be the trade-off. David, of course, is a fundamentally important part of the makeup. You know, Danny's right. It took 2 bites of the cherry with both the West Ham fans, by the way, and the owners, for David to show his true worth. There is a danger for David and for Stuart. We spoke to Stuart Pearce the other day, and Alan Ivan and Kevin Nolan and all the team they put together, because they're some of all their parts, that they will become victims of their own success. Because the expectation levels, and it's the right way to be, because if you don't have expectation in a football club and an ambition from both the fans and the owners and the manager and the players, then you don't really have a progressive football club. But you're in a situation now where certain deals probably need to happen. Lingard probably does need to sign for West Ham, and they need to try and make that happen. In an ideal world, one of the things that will be on their side with Declan Rice is that despite the fact that there are a few clubs out there that have the ability to be able to turn your lights off financially, people are still wanting to be a little bit more conservative with money. And I know, believe me, I know that Declan Rice was up for discussion 18 months ago at around 80, 90 million quid as far as West Ham are concerned. Now, if that is the case, I will wonder and see who's going to pay 80, 90 million pounds for Declan Rice in this market. And I'm sure there'll be an answer, and it may well be Chelsea. It may well be someone that's got the ability, as I say, to turn out your lights. But the thing with David is that David has now put himself back on the map. The David Moyes that was in trouble at Sociedad, in trouble in Sunderland, in trouble with himself, at odds with the fact that he lost his way after Man United, unfairly I might add, with being taken out of Man United so early in his tenure, because it was always a poison chalice, and perhaps he should have been bright enough to be aware following Alex Ferguson was not going to be something anyone could really do in the short term. And now, following the situation 8 years later, David Moyes would be given a completely different landscape at Manchester United. But now you've got the real bona fide on his game, learnt from all his experience, top draw manager in David Moyes, and more than confident, but not arrogant, not confident to the point where people disappear up their own backsides, but confident to the point where he knows his worth, he knows what he's at, he knows where he's going, he knows what he wants. It's interesting that he's chosen to stay at West Ham, because there would have been, I suspect, a lot of interest in him, because his credentials were back where they once were before.
Sure.
And David now has an opportunity to build something with West Ham. The challenge is everyone is going to get exponentially better next year than they were this year. And everyone's going to want to push on. Everton are going to want to get themselves back into some vein of form that doesn't symbolise finishing 10th. And you're going to see a variety of other clubs that may come back. You might see Arsenal actually become a meaningful side again. You might see Tottenham regain their poise. And all of these will change the mix in the places that West Ham are trying to compete in.
Yeah.
But I think, to answer your question, is it a fundamental opportunity for West Ham to build further, and is he a key component and a key signing?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's why they're offering him 3 years, Danny. It's not as if, I mean, we hear talk of a 1 year rolling from various people going into jobs at this stage. Not this. This is 3 years. Simon's right. He's earned it. He's earned it. He deserves it.
It seems a good length of time for me to give a manager when you're fully confident in them and you say, right, let's be realistic. 3 years, 5 year deals for managers. It seems unless you've got to give them that because they're such a big name, you want them at your club.
Yeah, it was demeaning for David, to be fair. David took it. When he went into West Ham first time round, they demeaned him a little bit. Yeah. They gave him a contract, which is basically see how you go mentality. Right? And we'll see. And how
maybe it suited both.
Maybe it did or maybe it didn't. But the fact of the matter is, it's still a little bit underwhelming for somebody that's been operating at the top echelons of the game to be told you're almost getting a pay and play deal.
Well, fair play to Moyes for that, though. Because
fair play for Moyes for doing
you know what? As a player sometimes, I had that when I first went to Fulham. And I'd been off the radar a bit at Tottenham, and they said to me, "Well, we'll give you a year." And I went, "You know what? I'll take it." Because I had confidence.
I'll back myself.
Yeah, I'll back myself. And it was a good opportunity.
Yeah. And they're very fortunate because they didn't, David and Karen, they didn't recognise what they had. They went out and got their backsides handed to them financially with players that Pellegrini bought because it was a showbiz signing that on paper he was done. Pellegrini, he was done the moment he went to China.
Yeah,
he's a good player, but he wasn't good enough for the Premier League.
Yeah,
and in terms of substance and psychological approach to the game. But they had to have their heads handed them before they realised what they had. And to be fair to those guys, like them or loathe them, they had the balls to go back and say, we got it wrong, we bring the fella back. And if you're going to go to somebody and say, well, we got rid of you, we're going to bring you back, David would have been in a box seat to say, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. And now he's really in the box seat, and hopefully he's cemented his opportunity.
Well, as you say, Simon, what's the point of having a mind if you're not allowed to change it?
Change it. But this gives them stability, Simon, as well. This is their moment of stability that they've been craving.
Well, not if you lose your first 6 games.
No, not really. It gives David the opportunity to protect himself economically. So basically, if they pull any of their crap and say after 4 months that we're not having you anymore, David can turn around and say, well, you may not be having me, but you'll be having another 32 months worth of payments to me.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.